Welcome everybody and happy holidays. So maybe you want to make this a sword holiday or a European sword or a katana sword holiday. We're about 25 days till Christmas, and by popular demand, I'm bringing you a holiday sword buying special. Now, this is not going to be an end-all, be-all in terms of a buying guide for swords this 2023 season. I'm going to be trying my best to consolidate as much as I can of the major brands that you can shop in that I think you'll be safe in getting a sword. Now, I'm sure that you all have your personal favorites in terms of what swords you guys go with. They may have not made it to my list here, but I think these are the most reputable and well-known brands that I think you can be safe. I'm looking to get you more of a safe type of purchase in terms of the katana market or the European market right now. I've been doing this YouTube thing for a little bit, and I think I've kind of had my hands in many different swords, and I think I can render a pretty good opinion as far as where I think I can point you towards if you're looking to purchase a sword for the holidays, maybe for a gift for someone, or maybe you want to gift yourself and increase your sword collection. Now, if this is your first sword, I'm definitely going to get into some budget models so you can get in some starter budget swords that you can go into. Or if this is your second, third, or 10th sword, I'll get you into some really good brands that I think are giving you a lot of value for the money and giving you a lot of quality for the money as well. Now, if you're into swords and you're looking to purchase a sword, you're going to love this segment. If you're not into swords, and hopefully you can kind of stick around to see basically what's in the market, and maybe something might actually catch your eye. Maybe you want to get into swords. Maybe I can reform the non-sword guys into being sword guys. But I hope you enjoyed either way and hope you get something out of it. So I have my cup of Joe. It's not a Christmas cup. It's still a Halloween cup, but it's, have a knife day. So this is definitely my cup of Joe. And I am pretty much got my headsets, got my mic ready to go. And let's get into it, guys. Okay, guys, first brand is Ronin Katana. Ronin Katana is pretty much, I would say at this point, I really have to look it up, but at one point, Ronin Katana was the largest supplying sword company out there. I know there's probably other companies that are producing or selling more swords, but in terms of Ronin Katana being a standalone company, I think they're pretty much the largest sword company out there right now. Ronin Katana is a pretty safe bet for anyone getting into swords because they have a really good range of prices that you could get into from something starter swords. And actually, let me actually show you here. Here, if you look at their site, roninkatana.com, and you go in and you see here the Ronin, the Katana and Samurai swords 130 and up. This is pretty much their RK series swords. It's about 1045 steel. Let me actually go into one of them here. They start at like $99. Let's just go to the ones that are around the 149 range because those I'm most familiar with. So this is, as you can see, it's the RK entry-level model. This is model number 23. They pretty much they're all the same. They just give different models in terms of the finishings, the color scheme, and what they include with the sword. But they're all pretty much differentially hardened, 1045 katana blade. And 1045 is good, guys. 1045 are beater swords. Now, I would be doing an injustice by mentioning a sword buyer's guide without mentioning Matthew Jensen. Matthew Jensen is a sword reviewer, pretty much a prominent sword reviewer out there. His influence had guided me to start my own channel. I know for a fact he reviewed many Ronin katanas back in the past, and he brought a lot of them to failure. And this RK series at 1045 steel was extremely tough. I mean, they call them beater swords. So you're pretty safe in terms of starting off with a sword like this, in terms of backyard cutting or just getting yourself familiarized in swinging a sword. This is a great buy at $149 right now. Went up a little bit in price. It used to be $130, but still currently right now at the airing of this video at $149, it's still pretty damn good price for a pretty good, well put together sword. You know that basically everything's gonna be put together well. It's not real race scan or anything like that. The pieces are probably like an alloy. 1045 steel is probably not the best high carbon steel, but it's definitely durable, and they do a good job in their heat tempering. And I think you'll be pretty happy starting off with the RK line with Ronin. If you want to stay with Ronin, you look at the swords that are pretty much 265 and up, and I would say you're looking at probably like a Dojo Pro. This one comes in at around 305. Okay, so now you have the katanas at $265 and up. Ronin Katana, these are the Dojo Pros. Dojo Pro, pretty much known worldwide as being some really tough-ass swords that come in at a really good price at around $300 or so, and they're really tough. They're a 1060 steel Datanuki katana. Now, if you're not familiar with Datanuki, I'll tell you what the definition is here, especially especially on the site. Datanuki is a Japanese swordsmith in school developed by Higo Providence, yada, yada, yada. The Japanese kanji for Datanuki translates to a sword that cuts through torsos. So that's kind of self-explanatory. I mean, you know, they're really tough swords. They're very thick swords. I have a Datanuki blade with Huawei. Very, very tough sword, thick steel. And it's a sword that you can definitely do some nice, you know, moderate to heavy cutting with, and it's going to pretty much last. 1060 steel is also very good steel, and they're giving you some pretty good fittings. I mean, this is this particular blade is a Musashi theme. In terms of the Musashi Suba and all that, you know, not a lot of frills, but, you know, really good steel, tight, put together well. It's going to last you. It's going to be sharp out of the box, and it's a big blade. It's about a 29-inch blade. And it's 11-inch Suka. It's a pretty considerable sword, guys, at 29 inches with the to the Habaki. So it's about, really, if you include the Habaki, it's about 30 inches from the Suba. It's a pretty big blade and a nice size Suka handle. Silk Ito, synthetic silk Sageo. It's got black iron Fuchi, Kashida, and Manuki brass. But the good thing is also they give you a bullhorn on the Kurigata, Koiguchi, and Kojiri. So that's good. At least it's safety-wise. It's good. It's put together well. It's tight. It's got great steel in the $300 range. Definitely recommend that if you're looking to get something, a gift for yourself or somebody else. That is a great sword to go with. You have the RK line under 200, and you have the Dojo Pro. Depending on the model you want to pick from, 29-inch blade, Datanuki, great steel for around the $300 range. Now, guys, if I kind of just stop the video right here, I could tell you, listen, just go to Ronin. It's a great starter sword and a great fancier sword that you can go with. But, you know, us Americans, we love options. So there's a lot of options on the market. I'm not going to give you all of them now, but let me continue and go to other swords that I had experience with and I've heard about that I think you could be safe with. Now, if you go to Cas Iberia, I have met with Patrick. I had him on an interview with me. He had sent me some swords. I'm working on getting some more Dragon King swords from him. Cas Iberia has many different brands, and if you scroll down on the brands here, you have Paul Chen, Hanwei, obviously Hanwei swords, which is always a safe bet. Always recommend Hanwei swords to everyone getting into swords, or even if you're looking to add to your collection. They have a lot of great models, and they're pretty safe in terms of finding them in stock and having a sword that's you're going to be able to rely on and use as a real Shinken, real sword. What I'm showing you, just to back up a little bit, guys, what I'm showing you guys is a real sword. People that are looking to use their swords, they're sharp and they're ready for use, ready for battle, whatever you want to call it, but they're real Shinkens, real swords. There's no wall-mounted swords here that I'm showing you. Then you have Kingston Arms if you want to get into European swords, which Kingston Arms is a pretty good brand that Cas Iberia manages that you can get into. But my favorite here in terms of, you have APOC, which I reviewed some APOC swords on my channel as well. Take a look at my catalog. Very tough, like end of days type of weapons. Definitely take a look at APOC if you're looking to get something of a cheaper alternative than zombie tools. I think they're tough as nails, really good models that they have there that you can really run them through the mill and they're going to last on you. One thing that really impressed me about Cas Iberia is the Dragon King swords. Dragon King are, and don't look at the prices here because Cas Iberia are pretty much more expensive than other places you can buy them because they're more wholesale to other companies. So if you look at just even the Winter Sun Katana, ignoring the price, these are fantastic swords. Dragon King, I think right now, is giving you one of the most interesting purchases on the market for a really well-made sword, something that has, tight Ito, really good fittings, very well made, and very, just the fittings, the castings are beautiful. It's a very tight, wonderfully made sword, a very good usability cutting swords. They're just great swords. I mean, Dragon King, I think I would definitely recommend for someone who's looking to get into something in the $400 to $600 or $700 range. I think Dragon King is where I would send you right away. It's pretty much one of the hottest swords on the market right now. There's a lot of different options and really beautiful models. This is a little bit purple Ito here. and they're very well made, very nicely put together swords, good steel, good choices, good fit and finish. I think they're a very, very safe bet. A really quick look at Kingston Arms is a European line from Siberia. You have a lot of different types of swords here that you can probably get into. You have your arming swords, you have your Scottish claymores, you have your long swords, you have your side swords. There's a Viking swords if you're into the Viking swords. Their prices are very fair, very, very fair. I mean, in terms of European swords, I would obviously recommend Albion for the best European swords in the market, but not a lot of people can afford, $1,200 to over $3,000 a sword. And if you're looking to get into a European market, I think this is a good brand from Siberia that you can definitely look into. Now we have Swords of Northshire. Swords of Northshire as a company that I have dealt with in the past. There are a lot of different things. They are stock swords, but they could also customize swords for you. So if you want to go to the actual samurai swords, you have a couple different models here. They also do have anime, a lot of different types of colored blades and stuff like that. But they do have real swords and good steel, T10, 1095, a lot of different options here. They're a little bit more on the pricier end. There are all other companies similar to them, but the good thing about them here is, you notice here at the top, you have a 1-800 number that basically you can deal with somebody in the States, customer service, somebody speaking, to you in the States and from the States that is selling you the product, and you can speak to them directly. And that's probably something, the customer service and dealing with somebody in the States is really where they're charging you a little bit more than other companies. But they do offer a very good customer service as far as I remember it, and many different types of models that you can choose from. They also have anime. If you're into the anime or the fantasy models, you can definitely get into them as well, the Ninjatos. And then you have customize your own katana, where you can pick start it off at 200, and you could just pick everything, or the Koshide, the Ito color, the Saya. You can just kind of build the type of katana motif that you're looking to get into. So they do offer custom swords along with their stock. You might find maybe some good bargains they're giving you on some swords. I mean, if you look at their katanas, I think some of them started around 200, 219. So there are some pretty good bargains here. So if you look at the 219 one, you guys, pretty much like a 1060 steel. Looks, their mirror polish is pretty good. It's not the best, but it is pretty good. I've been very happy with some of their mirror polishes, and their swords have held up. I've gotten swords from them in the $400 range that really have held up to many different cuts, even bamboo cutting, and they're still pretty good, and they take a great edge, and I've been generally very happy with them. Again, they're just a little bit pricier than other companies. Now, speaking of other companies, Hanban Forge, which is you're seeing here, is another company that do custom swords and also stock. They're very similar to, in terms of Swords of Northshire. Some people think they're the same company, but I don't think they are. And a lot of people have been very happy with Hanban Forge, and they're a little bit cheaper than Swords of Northshire, and they offer a lot of the same things. So definitely, if you like Swords of Northshire, but you think the price is a little bit high, you definitely maybe want to look at Hanban Forge, because if you look at their sites, even the pictures look very similar, but the prices are cheaper. The prices are definitely cheaper. This is $107 this sword. It's also you can select your hand sharpening type of handle cord. You can customize even a couple of things on all their swords. And this at $107 for a 1060 blade. Looks pretty damn good. And Hanban Forge, again, is pretty good. Cheaper than Swords of Northshire, very similar in product, and also get into the anime swords and the fantasy swords as well. So Hanban Forge is definitely somebody I would recommend for a custom sword. One of my favorites is Jeiku swords, Sino swords. I have reviewed many Sino swords, or let's call them Jeiku swords. They're more known as Jeiku swords. I've reviewed many of them in the past, and I've been pretty happy with them. I'm pretty not happy with them. But the good thing about them is they also have very strong customer service. You can speak to them over email. They're pretty, there's some things are lost in translation, but for the most part, as long as you're very specific as far as exactly what you want, I would definitely go give Jeiku a shot. I would not recommend anyone to Jeiku doing custom sword who hasn't had experience in doing swords before, because you really have to be very specific as far as what you want, so you know that there's nothing lost in translation. But if you look at their sword models, they have Japanese swords, and then they have also Chinese swords, but they also have some pretty good price points. This one at $249. I'm imagining it's probably T10. Yes, it is. It's a T10 blade, and they have a pretty good fit and finish. And I got to say something about Jeiku. Their fittings are really good, but their Tsukamaki, their Ito wrap, is probably some of the tightest wrapped Ito I have ever seen on any sword I've held my hands on. Even the higher quality swords that I love, they have just a knack for really tight, tying up that ito so damn tight you can't even move it. So I'm always been very impressed in how tight their Tsukamaki is. But all in all, I think Jaku does a great job. And if you're into Chinese swords, you have a lot of gens and Daos, you know, the saber swords and things like that you can choose from, that I think they do a good job as far as the Chinese swords. But I think the Japanese swords is where I would recommend them more. As far as my experience is more with their Japanese swords and their custom swords, I think they do a great job in their customs. They're a little bit more money than Hanban, but I think you're getting a little bit of a better product in terms of their custom models. But they have a lot of stock swords as well. So I would say out of a custom sword shop, I would say take a look at Swords of Northshire, Hanban Forge, and Jaku. Hanban being the cheapest, Jaku being a little bit higher than the Hanban, and Swords of Northshire probably being a little bit, probably the most expensive one. But again, you're paying for American customer service. Just kind of moving along, guys. I'm trying to get this done as quick as possible. There's just so much to really to present to you with this. And at the end of this, I'm not even going to get to tap into everything. You have the SBG Sword Store. SBG Sword Store has a lot of different models. If you shop around by brands, they do have the APOC swords. They have Dark Sword Armory, which we'll click on that. And these are really good swords. The Dark Sword Armory in the $800-900 range, a little over $1,000 range, a very good European swords. If you're looking to get into that, I think it's a pretty safe buy for that. But if you look at the brand, now they also have Kingston Arms, and also they have Ronin, and they also have Ryujin. Ryujin also makes some really good swords, guys. I didn't mention them because I wanted to get to here. You have your T10 classic swords. You have your 65 MN tool steel unsharpened Lido swords, and you have your Chinese swords. So if you look at the T10 swords, they're in the $300 range, pretty good. A lot of them you could also customize as well. That's also another company that you can definitely shop around to, giving you options here, guys, for different types of swords that might strike your fancy. You might see fittings on one that you don't see in another, and their prices might work for you, and you might like what you're seeing on their site. So I would say definitely shop around to all these brands. Ryujin, Ronin are pretty good brands, definitely you can start off in. But they also have Dragon King. Now, Dragon King, here are your Japanese swords. Now, they're going to give you a lot better price than Cat Siberia. You notice this Dragon King modern katana, which I reviewed on my channel. Very, very impressed with the modern katana. It's kind of a different spin or a modern take on the katana. Take a look at my catalog at $287. It is a fantastic, phenomenal sword for you to definitely bang around and have a good time with, not having to worry about loose ito or anything like that. It's a solid unit construction. It's a really, really good sword. But if you look at their other swords, you have your Dragon King at $379. This is the Springs Sakura katana. They have like the Four Seasons katanas here. And excellent, beautiful katanas. Again, very well made. I can't emphasize how much I like Dragon King. And this is definitely the place where you want to shop around at SBG Sword Store. They have some of the best prices on Dragon King at $379. I think this is definitely a great, great buy for a really good quality sword, good quality fit and finish, and a great cutting sword. SBG Sword Store is a great sword website that you can definitely shop around and see a lot of different brands under one roof. And they have a pretty good customer service. You're also dealing with somebody in the States. And guys, you have to go to RVA Katana. Speak to John. They're based out of Virginia, which is cool because you're dealing with somebody in the States, and they have a ton of different types of swords you can go with. They're a Cast Iberia dealer. They're a Cloud Hammer dealer, Heaven and Earth Forge, wooden anime swords, but predominantly, I love their Cloud Hammers because I've reviewed many Cloud Hammers that John has sent me from Cloud Hammer Steelworks. And the Cloud Hammer swords, I mean, if you really want a sword with some of the best super steel out there, so here's your list of steels that they're going with Cloud Hammer. You have your functional Damascus, you have your W1 and W2 cable steels, you have your 51 CRV4 German spring steel, you have your Japanese spring steels, you have your SX105V, which is an excellent Japanese tool steel, and you have your S5 tool steel, which is pretty much the workhorse super steel of the industry right now. So if you really want to get some of the best steels on the market, you got to go to Cloud Hammer, and you got to go to John from RVA Katana if that's what you're looking for. He's also a great dude. He's going to work out a price with you and give you everything in his inventory at your disposal. So definitely check out RVAKatana.com and look at Cloud Hammer Steelworks and anything else that he has to offer there. I think you'll be pretty happy, and I think it's going to be a one-stop shop for you. I'll be doing you injustice by not mentioning Cult of Athena. Cult of Athena is pretty much one of the largest sword selling companies out there. They sell everything. If you look at their brands here, Lancelot Sword, Age of Craft, you have Albion Swords, you have Arms and Armor, you have also APOC. They also sell Dragon King. They also sell Condor, Devil's Edge. Here's Dragon King, here's Dynasty Forge. There's so many different sword companies out here that they sell, and they sell Hanwei. You can definitely, and also Musha. Musha is also a budget brand. So you have $159. That's not too bad. This is the real sword. This is a Musha Golden Warrior Katana. Gold blade, not really much into it if you're into that kind of stuff. Again, Musha is a very good budget brand for you to basically beat up. I know there's some Musha brands in around $50 that are real swords. You just have to kind of look it around on Cult of Athena. I think you'll find something that you like. If you go to HEMA, you have a couple different brands from that are European swords on Cult of Athena that you can definitely look into. Now, normally European swords are a little bit more expensive, but you can definitely get some in the $300 range that are put together pretty well. You don't have to spend, $3,000 on an Albion if you're looking to get into the European niche in terms of the swords, and you like the European swords. There's a lot of different models out there. If you like that, definitely look into Cult of Athena. They have a couple different price ranges you can look into. Okay, now we get to Skyjiro. Now, Skyjiro is more of a higher end sword in the market right now. I personally like Skyjiro. I think Skyjiro makes some of the best, well put together swords out there, but there is a caveat. Some people might agree with me. I don't think you should spend anything more than the Foot Soldier series class here. I don't think you should get into Skyjiro at more than in the $600 to $800 range, because if you start getting into like the Imperial class they're in like the $4,000 range, $5,000 range. I got to tell you, there's probably mahogany, folded steel. It's probably better quality fittings for the most part. But the best of what I think Skyjiro has to offer, you're getting within the price ranges of around $700 to $800. That's my honest opinion. So if you want to get into Skyjiro and have a very well-made sword, the best of what they do in terms of a well-made sword, something that is actually a physical weapon that can perform and last and cut and do and just feel so balanced and feel great in the hand. Hanabira is a great sword. Takachigai, I personally have reviewed a Takachigai on my site, and I absolutely love the sword. It's one of my favorite cutting and swinging swords that I have in my collection, that I also reviewed on my channel. Definitely recommend it. And I think right now it's around $800. It's definitely worth it. Great steel. I think it's also folded steel. And it's great Tsukamaki, put together well, good race skin, tight wrap, great quality, original fittings. You're not going to find Skyjiro fittings on any other sword. Skyjiro is a great sword company. You can deal with somebody in the States, speak to Danny in the States. He's in California. I had him on my show as an interview. I definitely recommend Skyjiro if you're looking to get into a higher quality sword, a good performing sword in that $800 price range. They're pretty much on top of the line right now for that price range. Now, I can't get into Huawei's site. Huawei is, if you guys know me, I always tout Huawei. Huawei, for some reason, there's some kind of their site is compromised or whatever it is. I don't know what's going on with it, but if you want to know anything about Huawei, you definitely want to look at my catalog and look at my Huawei sword that I reviewed on my page, on my catalog. For me, they're pretty much some of the best swords made in the production market, especially for the price range. The price range is around $300 to about $900. I don't see anybody building a sword better than them. Their fit and finish, they'll even up to the smallest, finest details, they do an amazing job, and I am just so impressed at the sword I got from them. I got a Datsunuki blade from them that I reviewed, and it's an amazing, amazing sword. And I actually love the sword so much, and I love the blade and how it was put together, that I decided not to cut with it, because they're very hard to get. That's the thing with Huawei. The caveat with Huawei is people hate their customer service because they take 2 years to get you a sword. You pretty much can pay them for the sword, from what people tell me, and you can forget about it for about a year, 2 years. And not a lot of people are happy with that. And if you ask too many times as far as where your sword is, they usually just refund you the money. I would go out on a limb and say, listen, if you have patience and you want some of the best swords that are made in the market, I would say just deal with it. As long as they're still in business and they're still promising you swords, definitely take a look at Huawei as far as some of the best production swords out there within that price range. I'm still a Huawei aficionado, and I will tout them to the, for a long time until I know that they're not producing swords anymore, but they make some of the best out there. So I would say Skyjiro and Huawei so far, I'm seeing as some of the best swords. I just want to sneak one more in here, guys. Sword and Armory is also another company that I would definitely recommend you to, and they have a couple different brands. They have Skyjiro, Dragon King, and all that. If you're looking to get Skyjiro, I would say go directly through Skyjiro. Don't go to aftermarket. I heard of people not being very happy with Skyjiro aftermarket. Go directly through Skyjiro's site and deal with them directly to get their swords. All right, Munatushi is a sword brand that they offer themselves in-house. Munatushi has a lot of good competition, Korean swords, very well-made swords, pretty much in the $200 to $300 range. There are definitely some good options here, and I don't know where it is, but there is a performance cutter that they sell. Very hefty, good blade, and a very good performance cutter, similar to like the Hanwei Practical XL. And I love all the Hanwei lines, all the Practical line. If I didn't mention it, so much to talk about. The Practical line from Hanwei is excellent, they're also great cutting swords, great usability in their swords. But the Munatushis from this site, Sword and Armory, is actually pretty damn good. It definitely worth a look. Now, last but not least, guys, Evolution Blades is pretty much cream of the crop in terms of swords, in terms of production market. This is the most expensive and the best made swords on the production market. You're not going to get better swords than this unless you go straight to Japan and get swords made from a master swordsmith there. That's the only place you're going to get swords better than this. Citadel is also really good, and Citadel is sold on the Cat Siberia site. Definitely look at Citadel. They're equivalent in terms of quality, but if I had to pick which is the best production katana in terms of quality and price, Evolution Blades is definitely where you want to go. I mean, right off the bat, you look at the race skin and you look at basically how these things are made. I mean, look at that sword. Look at, they're just such incredibly well-made swords. I mean, you can see just in the blink of an eye how good quality these things are made. I mean, look at that. Just absolutely, they're just gorgeous blades. And they're tough, guys. They're tough. They're made to last. They have great customer service. These are pretty much the best swords you're going to find in terms of the production market. And the prices, I don't even think they have prices here, to be honest with you. But you're going to be expecting to spend in the thousands for these swords. $3,000 up to $5,000 or even up to $10,000, depending on what models you want to put together. But if you have a big wallet and you're looking to get the best that the market has in terms of katana for yourself, or if you're that lavish that you want to give a gift to somebody like that, Evolution Blades is definitely the place you want to go in terms of getting the best of the best. The best of the best with honor, sir, in the katana market is Evolution Blades. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you. I mean, I pretty much tried to lay down as much as I can in terms of budget models, mid-range models, custom swords, custom sword shops, and also some sword companies out there that you can kind of look into and find a couple different brands under one roof, and you can shop around and see what kind of strikes your fancy from there. So I really hope that this was a good help to you, and I hope my rambling did something for you today. I know it was a long one, but there's a lot to talk about, and I know there's a lot of other sword companies that I didn't mention. There's Amazon brands like Murasami, that's good. There's Bohaiyu on Amazon. Those are the only two I would recommend on Amazon, but I know there's probably other sword models that you may like, and you can put them in the comment section. Let other people read them. Let them know your experiences. If you had some other sword companies out there that I did not mention that you want to let people know about, I think that'll be great to join in the conversation. Happy hunting for your new sword. You might be able to get some stock swords that'll be mailed to you in about 2 weeks from a lot of these companies. So I think you have some time to shop around at these companies and get a pretty good sword that's in stock that you can deal with. Forget about Skyjiro, Huawei, or a lot of these companies that are going to wait, a year down the line. That you're going to probably order now for next Christmas. But a lot of these stock swords, budget swords, mid-range swords, Ronin, Ryujin, you could probably get in about 2 weeks, 3 weeks right before Christmas. So hopefully this all helps you out. And that's it, guys. And if you like this type of video and you like hearing about swords, please don't forget to subscribe on my channel. I'm trying to reach 5,000 by the end of the year. I put out a video for that, and I can't do it without your help trying to grow the channel. And thank you for all your support, and thank you to all my subscribers for clicking in and watching to the end of this video. Happy holidays, guys. Much love and respect to each and every one of you. This is Joe from JS Bladecraft. Thank you for watching. Have a peaceful one, and I'll see you on the next video. Have a good one, guys. Ciao.